Sammy from Barnhanger Studios, and today we're going to do a very quick review of all of these Safari pedals in the Everything bundle that they're just now offering. I think there's a couple of days left if you want to get onto that. So in total, for English conversion, so use a promo code as well, all of these cost about £70 for the whole thing. So we're looking at about £10 per plugin. So it's important to keep that in context. These are affordable plugins and they do, quite specific things. So if we go into our plugin inserts here, we look at units and Safari pedals, you see the first thing that I've done, and something that I will encourage everyone to do, is change the names of the Safari pedals. Because, and this is a criticism, and it's the first point, it's the thing that most people are going to notice, is that everything's named Dragon EQ, Gorilla Drive, Flamingo Reverb, and the animals, while it is part of the Safari pedals quirk, doesn't mean anything. They don't mean anything to me. If anything, so if I had a Dragon EQ loaded up, all I'll be able to see is the first 5 letters of the word dragon in my insert chain. So I'm not going to know what that is. So what I decided to do is, much like FabFilter do with their plugins, you'll see it is Pro G, Pro L, all of that. I've decided to name them SP and then what they do. So I can quickly just grab it. So SP, so I know it's a Safari pedal. And then compression, drive, D verb, echo, EQ, F verb, L limiting, L verb, R verb, tape, vintage, and delay. So I'm not going to be confused at any point. So the first plugin we're going to look at here is the owl control, which is a compressor. Again, if you just said owl control in your insert chain, you wouldn't know what that was, but we changed the name so it doesn't matter. So let's take a listen without the plugin first, and this is a cover of Alex Turner's Stuck on the Puzzle. I recorded it recently, full cover on YouTube. So we just listen to this, and I'm just going to have a little dabble.
I'm not the kind of fool who's gonna sit and sing to you about stars, girl. But last night I looked up into the dark half of the blue, and they'd gone backwards. Something in your magnetism must have pissed them off, forcing them to get a nerve.
Okay, so my first impressions are I really am enjoying the saturation that we're getting through the input volume. Would be nice if it was just a saturation control on this, as I know there are on others. So let's go with things I don't like first, because that's be easier. So I don't like the fact that the attack and the release are on one knob. I get the fact that it makes it more accessible for people that don't, maybe not familiar with using compression plugins and things like that. But I like to be able to choose my attack and release independent of each other. So by making a fast attack and a quick release, I can't make a fast attack and a long release on this, which can get a bit annoying. The ratios, I believe, they change with each preset that I put on, which is kind of cool. I do kind of like the fact that there's these quick buttons to switch it from different vibes, but there's not a lot of control. So there's not like a amount of lo-fi, it's just sort of like, I don't really like buttons that do things that you can't see them doing. But it does give a nice flavor, and it's very easy to get a good sound out. It's one of those, and this is probably going to be quite a constant through these. It's difficult to dial in a bad tone on these, it really is. But it's also difficult to dial in a really good tone. They just sort of enhance. They sounded really good on the drums, I must say. On the whole track, it was too much of everything. And the fact that I can't adjust my attack and release independent of each other make this not a particularly good mix bus compressor. But for a drum bus, you know, I did quite like it. So yeah, so the controls, input, output, very standard, attack and release again, ratio, and then a lot of presets. Auto gain, which I pretty much always have if it's available on compressors, stops you getting confused if you're just liking the volume. And then what's really handy, a blend and a width which is quite unusual to have in a compressor. I did notice that the width control, it makes very few changes. So normally with the width, take the SSL Fusion stereo imager. If you increase the width by a little bit, it makes a massive difference. Whereas this, you can crank it and it's making a minor difference, which I quite like because it's not a stereo dedicated plugin. It just gives the sides a bit more attention. So that's a good plugin. That is usable. I don't really have another plugin to sort of compare it to really fairly, because it is just meant to be a really easy plugin to use, and it was easy to use. So they've definitely ticked that box, and it sounds good. It's just there's not a lot of room for, you know, minor tweaking in between. Let's move on to the next one. So the next one we have the Gorilla Drive. So I'm pretty much just going to play this on the electric guitar here. So if we play this on the solo at the end. Now, that's okay. I feel limited in the options I have. You have a tone control here. No metering on this at all. And it is designed to look like a guitar pedal, so bypass switch. Again, a really annoying graphic to sort of confuse, if anything. Auto gain is really important with drive pedals. I sort of feel like this is good. This is a good use of this would be if you're running a simulated guitar amp to run this as maybe your overdrive pedal or a pedal with your overdrive just to give a bit more saturation. But I think it is kind of weak in that. I'll give an example because Softtube offered this plugin and it's a really good comparison, which is the saturation. So we have one knob here for total saturation, and then we can choose whether we're keeping our saturation high, neutral, or low, which is really cool. And we have loads of metering. And the weird thing is, well, not weird, but this plugin's free. So, and I still probably would use it over the drive pedal. But, you know, not to say it's a bad pedal, it's just it doesn't give me a lot of options, and its out of the box sound isn't as great as I was expecting. Let's move on to the next one. Remember, these are first reactions to these pedals. Okay, Dirty Dog, overdrive and reverb. So let's put this on bass. Let's bypass it first. That's quite cool, actually. Oversampling as well, even better. So, I'll do negatives first. I don't like pedals, or I don't like plugins that combine like this, because it's sort of not succeeding as a drive pedal or as a reverb. While I actually think the drive on this sounds better than the Gorilla Drive, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 7 knobs on here. One's a gate, so 6. 2 are filters, so 4, and 2 are just where you're placing the drive, and only 2 on how we control the reverb. So just pre-delay and time. That's not to say it doesn't sound good. Again, if you do it using a simulated guitar amp, these would be quite cool to throw in the chain. But yeah, it's just very limited in parameters and things and what we can do. Two knobs for the reverb, and just 1 knob really for the drive, depending on where you want it, and no different options on how much or how less. Nice that there's a blend and a oversample. They get full marks on that, because I love plugins that have those. The blend, I think, is in every plugin, and that's really helpful. But I don't think it succeeds in being an overdrive pedal or a reverb. It's a bit in the middle. And in a DAW situation like this, we could load in individual overdrives and individual reverbs. But yeah, as just a digital pedal, not plugin, but as a pedal, yeah, I can see this having, some utility. Let's go to the next one. It's an Echo. Okay, already they're winning me over with their user interface, because it's immediately a lot clearer. I don't know why they have to have these cables. I don't know why they have to make it look like it's a cab or whatever, or a head. It's just distracting. It just is. Let's put this on our synths and let's see how this sounds. This is a good pedal. This is a good plugin. I like this plugin a lot. I was tweaking it and it was doing what I was thinking it was going to do, which is always a good sign. Sounded quite cool on that synth. Again, the user interface is going to bug me, but bearing in mind that just these knob controls, if we take away that left-hand side, it's pretty good. Again, we've got the blend. We've even got a noise on or off sort of situation, which I was playing around with. Width control, which is great. It's annoying I can't change the order of effect, chorus, reverb, though that pretty much is the order I would have it. Can we change the order? Seriously, correct me if I'm wrong there. But yeah, I mean, you only really need a 1 reverb knob when you're trying to place the echo like that, because you have another reverb going on anyway. EQ, yeah, it's okay. It's probably not that necessary, but it's I used it, and what I expected it to do, it did the things correctly. Another auto gain, which I love. Let's see these presets. Yeah. I always hate the way they label presets. Just generally every plugin manufacturer. That's probably the best one we've had a look at so far, if I'm being honest. So let's go into the next one. Okay. So the Dragon EQ, sort of what I was alluding to before. It's a long name. If this was on your insert, you'd basically see Drago and not know what it is. So I'll just change it to SPEQ. Let's put this on the entire track because it's an EQ. It should just work. And let's listen.
Must have pissed them off, forcing them to get an early night. I have been searching from the bottom to the top for such a sight as the one I caught when I saw your fingers dimming the lights, like you're used to being told that you're troubled. And I spent all night stuck on the puzzle. Nobody I asked knew how he came to be the one to whom you surrender.
That's quite cool, actually. At first, I was afraid this was going to be quite limited, but then I realised that we could adjust the frequencies, which is quite cool. I think the difference between the low gain and drive is the low drive is a much broader frequency spectrum. So if you imagine the low gain is just a bell, and and the low drive is a much bigger bell, if that makes sense. That's definitely how it sounded. I'm not sure if it implies any sort of distortion. I don't think it definitely didn't sound. I'm not cranking, but it didn't sound like it did. Mid-side manipulation, that's quite cool. Nice to see. And then oversample, again, really cool. I liked it. It's a very quick way of getting a good sound. It definitely feels mix bussy, this actually. So once you've redone your graphic EQs and all of that, to add a bit of flavour, this has that. Actually, this has flavour in it, which is nice. I was pleasantly surprised because on face value it looks just like a very boring guitar pedal EQ, but it's not. It definitely has character to it. Usable. I put this under definitely usable. Let's go to a different one. So F verb, Flamingo-Verb. Let's throw this on the vocals.
The kind of fool's gonna sit and sing to you about stars, girl. But last night I looked up into the dark half of the blue, and they'd gone backwards. Something in your magnetism must have pissed them off, forcing them to get an early night. I have been searching from the bottom to the top for such a sight as the one I caught when I saw your fingers dimming the lights, like you're used to being told that you're troubled. And I spent all night stuck on.
That's the best reverb I've heard of them so far. And unlike the Dirty Dog one, we have lots and lots of options. So if you see the high and low pass, I was critical of the filters being on some of the other ones, but this one, it makes sense. I was able to achieve a sort of Abbey Road effect by doing the high and low on the reverb out. Pre-delay, absolutely essential. Time, width, drive. Again, you're not choosing a type of reverb still, but I was able to get, oh, well, there is oversampling, I didn't see that. I was able to get, a good sound out of that, and very quickly as well, with just moving a few things around. Again, essential to have, it's nice to have the blend on these reverbs because I don't have to send it to a bus and then dialing the send tone, which is nice. Saves up my workflow. let's go into the next one. That was a good pedal. That was good. Limiter. Okay, well, we're getting a few more. There's a nice metering going on here. A line master. So this effectively should be the last thing in the signal chain. So I'm going to auto gain this, just so I don't confuse you with how much I'm going to crank it. And let's just take it from this part here, I suppose.
There's something in your magnetism hadn't just made him drop. Whoever's hand it was that he was holding, I have been searching from the bottom to the top for such a sight as the one I caught when I saw your fingers dimming the lights, like you're used to being told that you're trouble. And I spent all nights stuck on the puzzle. I tried to swim to the side, but my feet got caught in the middle.
Yeah, it was hard really to go wrong with that, to be honest. It did everything I wanted it to do. Yeah, the saturation, it's nice to have an independent saturation knob. Although annoyingly, it's not my favourite saturation we've had. I think the Owl Control had better saturation, but annoyingly you didn't have a dedicated saturation knob, bizarrely. Yeah, it's good, but it doesn't feel like a good limiter to me. When by limiter, I mean, it says line master, I mean a limiter for mastering. I'll give you an example. So a limiter for mastering, for me, should look like this. And this is the standard one, which is the Fab Filter L2. And if I play,
And I thought I'd seen the
you see how important this metering here is to see how close you are to your true peak level, to see how high and how loud the snare's being pushed and things like that. You could use these together and drive it into it. Obviously, both offer true peak limiting. This gives you a bit more control over what that true peak is. Yeah, I'm not in love with this one. It does a good job, but I wouldn't be using it as a mastering plugin. And being called Line Master and having true peak limiting capabilities, you would think it would be a mastering plugin, but that's not. It sounds good on a drum bus. In fact, let's play it on a drum bus. And I'm right. That sounds great on a drum bus. So not a mastering plugin. I think I can quite comfortably say that's not getting on my master chain anytime soon. But good as a bus limiter. I can see that. Next, another reverb. Oh god. Okay, this is a lo-fi plugin. I'm going to do this on a drum bus again, because if I did this on the whole track, it's just going to distort it and make it sound terrible. So let's just listen to the drums. See if we can get a lot. So these are very well produced, recorded, slamming drums. Let's see if we can turn them into a lo-fi, chaos. Yeah, I like that. I like that. You got to take this with a pinch of salt and remember that this isn't a reverb. This is a lo-fi enhancer. Because you just get 2 types of reverb and 1 knob, and a 1 knob from compression. It's meant to destroy the recording almost, and that's what lo-fi does. So you take that with a pinch of salt. I will be using this plugin quite a lot, actually. I can think of a lot of utility for this. So this is one of the favourites, one of the top ones. I don't mind the limited reverb and compression ones with this, because lo-fi, who cares what the attack and release is? Who cares for things like that? Just compression or no compression, that's fine. Again, blend and width, that is important with this, and it made a huge difference. Yeah, I like that one. We're getting warmer to good ones. Reverb. Wow, that is a limited set. Okay, let's play this on everything.
Something in your magnetism must have pissed them off, forcing them to get an early night. I have been searching from the bottom to the top for such a sight as the one I caught when I saw your fingers dimming the lights. Like
Look, if very simple controlled plugins are your thing, then Safari pedals are definitely for you. But I just get frustrated, I must say. We have 1 reverb control, a width and an output, and a filter. I don't like that. And it didn't really sound good enough to justify such simple controls. It feels like if there's simple controls, then it should just be easy to dial in, and this is really bare. I mean, I'm not in love with that at all, and the graphics just don't make any sense. I mean, it's taking up so much space to not do anything. The reverb control is just sort of changing the LEDs, which is cool. I'm not saying it's not cool, but you do need to sort out, gimmicks, really. You need to be aware of them. Again, we've got presets here, and all that's doing is adjusting the width and the reverb. I mean, no, that's not a plugin I'll be reaching for if I'm being completely honest. Yeah, let's go to the tape. Oh, okay. Well, that's the best looking of all of the plugins, because I'm not completely distracted, even though there is this rabbit mural behind it. I'm not completely distracted by the background. There's a reel-to-reel on top showing you what it is. I'm going to keep this in the master. I mean, it makes the most sense. Let's have a listen through it. Bypass.
stuck on the puzzle. I tried to swim to the side, but my feet got caught in the middle, and I thought I'd seen the lights, but oh no, I was just stuck on the puzzle, stuck on the puzzle. Wasn't led away.
Okay, that's okay sounding. I was able to dial in what I wanted. Very confused why they've named this part here wow. I don't get the thought process by that. It should be called stability, or even as rudimentary as in or out of phase or deterioration, but stability is what it typically be called. Just calling it wow just leads to confusion. What I love about this plugin is the simple cassette to reel-to-reel, which worked really well. The cassette did sound typically boxy and the reel-to-reel did sound more open, and that's what what you should expect. Flutter, I'm assuming that's just going to redo that. I'm assuming that's just going to make it sound like it's going to jump. Yeah, that's what it's doing. Grit was okay. Do you know, it's hard to look at a tape emulating plugin without comparing it to other ones. And I will just throw up another tape emulator. And this is my problem with the Rabbit tape. Okay, so we're going to take these two here, little shootout. So they're roughly the same price as well. So don't think I'm, throwing one under the bus here. So in and out. Wow is speed stability. Flutter, crosstalk. And then we're sort of out of options. Cassette reel-to-reel, but we'll go on to that. But with this one, you have different reel-to-reel types. You have the amount of color you want. You have the tape speed. You have a treble cut or boost, a tape emulator cut or boost. You have a noise filter in it. I must say, I'm a bit disappointed with the Rabbit tape. Even though it sounded nice, I'm not gonna use it. It's a shame, but everything was very dramatic with the changes as well, which is fine because if you're going for that sound, you're going for that sound. But tape emulation has been done better, and for the same price as well. So keep that in mind if you are shopping around for tape emulators. But there are some cool features. Auto gain, oversampling. I won't praise that enough. Blend again. Blend's quite cool to use with the wow to throw it in and out of phase. So if we have full blend out of phase, that's quite cool. But yeah, not enough metering. I'm not seeing enough. They're very busy making the pedals look nice, but actually looking nice makes it distracting. This isn't the worst for that, but it makes it distracting, and they could spend more of the space on better metering, and that's sort of what I look for in my plugins. Okay, let's look at the Timemachine. Okay, is it doing what I think it's doing? That sounds like what Led Zeppelin song starts like that? Different statics. That's cool. I'm gonna bypass it. Let's listen to it completely.
I'm not the kind of fool.
Yeah, it's doing what I think it was gonna do.
To you about stars, girl. But last night I looked up into the dark half of the blue, and they're gone backwards. Something in your magnetism must have pissed them off.
That's the best plugin in this bundle. It's the one I'm already thinking about using, because I can't think of any other plugin that does dedicated noise samples from different eras like that. And it's really noticeable. You've got the crackle from the 50s, high hiss, higher, and broader, and slightly quieter. And then you can control how much of that you have. There's not a huge amount of difference between 60s, 70s, and 80s in terms of what it's doing to the actual track, irrespective of the noise. The 50s is quite clearly being degraded, the high end, and you've just got like quite a muddy low end. All these plugins seem to lend themselves to doing quite lo-fi sounds. And that's not something I really do, so maybe that's an unfair advantage in terms of me reviewing them. But this definitely will make it onto some of the songs that I do in the future. Because it's got a very clear, it's got a very clear niche application, and it does it really well. Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. It almost sounds like a vinyl needle the way that's set up. Last one, Yak Delay. We're back to the world of confusing sort of posters behind. I can barely see that knob there. I don't know. Okay. Let's play this on vocals.
And a fool who's gonna sit and sing to you about stars, girl. But last night I looked up into the dark half of the blue, and they're gone backward. Something in your magnetism must have pissed them off, forcing them to get an early night. I have been searching from the bottom to the top for such a sight as the one I caught when I saw your fingers dimming the light, like you're used to being told that you're trouble. And
That's a really good sounding plugin. I still think the other one was my favourite, but this is really cool. I like the random feature. Back from me doing Max MSP and things like that at university, using random elements into making your music. That's cool. That turned me on. Low and high pass, again, filtering that Abbey Road style. That double vocal sound when you had the time set really, really low sounded amazing, to the point where it improved upon what I would have already considered a finished song. So that's high praise indeed. Sync, didn't really play around with that.
I spent all night.
You're getting some very funky sounds coming out of this, and it's really cool. It would be nice to have a tap tempo going on. Is this width? Yeah, ping pong. Okay, it's very hard to see what's going on. But yeah, I think that's everything. So thank you for watching. This has been a very honest review. There's some things I really liked about Safari pedals and things I didn't like. I didn't like the interface. I didn't like the stupid names, if we're being honest, of the pedals. It makes it confusing when you're loading them up to see. But as I've shown you, I've changed all the names of my plugins to suit me, so I don't get confused. What a Dragon EQ is, it's just their EQ. Dragon, that doesn't mean anything. But yeah, they definitely have their own character, and the highlight for me was probably the Timemachine one. That does something that I don't have already in my arsenal. So again, that really does, you know, turn you on as a mixing engineer when you've heard something that you don't have. Other highlights, Flamingo-Verb was quite cool. Yak Delay, I'm already thinking should be on a few more of my tracks. I didn't like the Line Master, I must say. I didn't think it really did anything that I couldn't do, and it was doing other things that I had no control over as well, which is never fun. That's good if you're starting out with this sort of thing, to have a one knob solution to things, but I quite like to know what was happening, because it makes it very hard to replicate if you don't know, you know, the ins and outs of what's going on. Another one I didn't like, unfortunately, was the Dirty Dog, both overdrive and reverb. I just didn't think it succeeded in doing any of the tasks. Just have two separate. Just use the Gorilla Drive and a Flamingo-Reverb, and you're golden. Having said that, the Gorilla Drive didn't really offer a lot for me. I think using it on a DI guitar might be quite handy. I'll have to try that. Rabbit Tape definitely probably had the most features, but I actually found the way that they approached doing flutter and doing stability quite gimmicky. And the only part of that one I liked was the choice between cassette and reel-to-reel. I thought that distinction was very nice and obvious. But yeah, I think for the money, they're good plugins. That's for certain. All the other plugins that I would use ahead of them are more expensive, so you do have to factor that in. Of course, the examples I used of the soft tube tape plugin and the saturation plugin are comparably similar prices, so take that into consideration as well. But thank you for watching, and tell me what your experiences are like with Safari pedals. I've seen them all over my social media, so I thought I just had to try them. And you know, some of them will make the cut for me, and with the deal that they're offering right now, I don't feel like I've wasted my money. I think I've got a good deal on 3 or 4 plugins that I would like, and maybe 4 or 5 supplementary plugins that I wouldn't use. But there we go. Thanks for watching.